Could this be your car?
That's a shocker.
Car fires.
I don't want to get too close because it is exploding.
Engine failures.
Thing is coming fast to a halt, and I'm in the middle of the highway.
The entire car shut off. The engine just stalled and died right there.
Marketplace and Go Public join forces. Could millions of cars be at risk? This is your marketplace. We're in Calgary, in a parking lot full of problems. Many of these cars could have defects that threaten their owner's safety. But which cars? And how many drivers know it? We're about to find out.
Hey there. My name's Rosa. We're from Marketplace, from CBC. Have you ever had a recall on your car? No? Do you mind if we check super quick?
Sure. That's my vehicle.
Right there. Okay, so question for you.
Yep.
Have you ever had a recall on your vehicle?
No.
No? Do you mind if I take a quick peek and check?
Sure.
It's estimated 1 in 5 vehicles in Canada has a safety problem that needs fixing, but hasn't been dealt with.
Do you know where your VIN is?
No.
Right here. Do you see where it says 2HH?
Yeah.
We search each car's vehicle identification number, or VIN.
Okay, your VIN, please.
2WF.
745.
We found the following safety recalls. Oh, you have a couple of them, actually.
Really?
One of them is a passenger airbag inflator may be overpressured. Did you know about those?
No,
No. Does it make you worry about your safety?
especially the airbag, because it's like, what if we get into a collision that it won't pop out, right?
W, D as in dog, B as in Bob.
Okay, it says 1 open recall. The glass panel might not meet specifications. Did you know about that one?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, you poor guy. Your car doesn't want to start. Okay, while you're looking, I'll type in the VIN.
Turns out the owner of this Hyundai needs to worry about more than a dead battery.
KM8N. There is an incomplete recall. Safety risk. A short circuit could create a fire risk. This fire risk remains even when the vehicle is parked.
Oh, no, I'm just...
Did you get a notice in the mail from the company to let you know?
A few rows over, this taxi driver is also in for a surprise.
Yep, there is one. Hey, we have some news you might want to know about. So in rare situations, it says, the vehicle may not enter the fail-safe driving mode, and it could, could lose power and stall. Does it worry you?
Yeah, I worry.
It's a pretty serious issue with your car.
All these cars have safety problems, according to the very companies that made them, and the drivers don't know it.
I'm just dying to get rid of this car, but I don't know how.
Keisha Taylor of Markham, Ontario had no idea that the used Santa Fe she bought just months ago has gone through multiple recalls, but she knows it now.
I do not feel safe and secure driving this car. Because I've had so many issues, I'm kind of always anxiously anticipating that something else is going to happen with this vehicle.
She's even worried about parking too close to other cars or too close to buildings, and for good reason. The latest recall she has from Hyundai tells her not to. It says her anti-lock brake system could leak and cause an engine fire, even after it's parked.
It just seems unreal. Fire of all the things. I can be driving and just a fire in my car.
Keisha is heading to the dealership to get it fixed. She's seen a lot of mechanics lately, including just 2 weeks after she bought this vehicle.
I'm driving on the 407 and I noticed that, my foot is on the gas pedal, but I'm getting nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, there's nothing from the engine. This thing is coming fast to a halt and I'm in the middle of the highway. Is this how my life ends?
Keisha manages to pull off the road, but ends up having to replace her entire engine with no help from Hyundai. She's not the only one. When it comes to Hyundais and vehicles made by its sister company, Kia, there are lots of cars out there that could have serious problems. Engine fires. There's been thousands of them across North America.
So I had to go through the driver's side and crawl across.
To go with thousands of engine failures, like Keisha's. Drivers feeling threatened by their own cars.
It had a good life.
Like the owner of this 2017 Hyundai Tucson, burning at the side of an Ontario highway. It suddenly catches fire after the engine starts knocking and loses power.
I don't want to get too close because it is exploding.
This driver hears a ticking noise on the way home.
And then it just literally exploded.
She pulls over, but before roadside assistance can get there, the whole thing goes up in flames.
God.
Hyundai and Kia have been slow to respond to the problems. Their safety recalls started gradually, back in 2015, for metal debris in the engines, and then fuel leaks, oil leaks, brake fluid leaks. Millions of vehicles added to the list amid growing engine fires and failures. But many others with the same problems are left off the list, only to be added years later. When I began reporting on this story 2 years ago for CBC's Go Public,
Hyundai and its sister company Kia had already recalled millions of vehicles.
Hyundai and Kia were under scrutiny by American watchdogs.
The companies themselves admit they're recalling, but they don't have a fix for it.
But not much action here in Canada.
If it weren't for our neighbors, we'd likely be dead.
Our coverage helps get the ball rolling, and more recalls follow.
The car makers have done more to deal with the engine issues in the last couple of weeks than they have since the recall started 4 years ago.
But as you can see, there's still danger out there. And many car owners are wondering, is safety taking a back seat to profits?
Hello?
Hey, Keisha, it's Rosa.
Hey, Rosa.
So your car had 3 recalls on it when you purchased it. Did you know that at the time?
No, I did not know that at the time.
Because she bought it used, Keisha didn't know her car had, in fact, gone through an unusual type of recall.
Hyundai has developed an engine monitoring technology.
No parts were replaced. Instead, millions of Hyundais and Kias were given a knock sensor detection system.
To continuously monitor for unusual vibrations caused by worn engine bearings that may precede an engine failure.
Or an engine fire. These early warning sensors are supposed to alert drivers and put the car in engine protection mode to slow it down. Keisha's car had a sensor, but she says it didn't work.
Were you warned when it happened to you?
No, I had no warning. I had no warning. And not only that, Rosa, but so what if it's going to warn you? Why do they have a recall notice that says that I'm going to put in a detector to tell you when it's about to happen? How about a recall notice that says that we're going to fix it so it doesn't happen? How are they allowed to even do that?
It doesn't seem to make sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Every step of the way, I don't see where the consumer is being, protected and being thought of first. I see more protection for the corporation, for Hyundai to save money.
Down the road in Oakville, Ontario, Michael Franklin is also on his way to a Hyundai dealership today to figure out why his check engine light keeps coming on and why there's a burning smell.
I burned through half a tank of coolant. That would explain all the burning smells.
This 7-year-old Santa Fe just had its engine replaced a few months ago. Because like Keisha's, Michael's last one died in the middle of the highway with no warning from any sensor.
I was coming home and I was trying to pass a tractor-trailer truck and the entire car shut off. No lights flashed, there was nothing. The entire car shut off, and I was lucky enough I managed to pull the vehicle off the side of the road. If the car had failed 5 seconds later, I would have just been pulled in front of the truck at that point. The engine would have failed and the tractor trailer would have smashed right into me.
Michael and Keisha are not alone. After months of digging, we uncover at least 7 cases where cars failed or caught fire after early warning sensors were installed. Consumer advocate George Eny had a lot of hope for the sensors. But our findings worry him.
For you to record that in Canada is a significant problem. And that would suggest then that we need to have I would say, a wary eye over this recall. The implications if the knock sensor system doesn't work are pretty staggering for a car maker.
Eni is the head of the Automobile Protection Association. He says the whole point of the sensors was so car makers could avoid replacing entire engines on a mass scale.
But this is a repair with a retail price on the far side of $5,000. The cost and the burden on their manufacturing and service network would have been extraordinary to do that. So they've done everything possible not to.
Given the potential safety implications of this, cars burning, failing at high speeds, people can lose their lives. Is it even enough that having a few instances of these sensor detection systems not working? Is that acceptable?
Well, that is a very serious safety issue, absolutely. Vehicle catching fire immobilized, vehicle stalling suddenly are very clear-cut safety examples. The idea that you have to wait for houses to burn down before you know if you have a safety problem is wrong. That's how we got into this problem initially.
We share our findings with Hyundai, but they don't want to come on camera to talk.
Neither will Kia. The car makers tell us their early warning sensors are independently tested and state-of-the-art.
They say engines die for many reasons, not just a manufacturing defect.
Recall number 1 for faulty engine that could cause the engine to fail and cause a crash.
Not much comfort to Michael Franklin.
The latch for the hood can pop open while driving, can cause the car to crash. The anti-lock brakes can leak, can cause a fire. The tow hitch module can start a fire as well. Every recall I notice from them, either the car can catch on fire when the car's off, or the car can cause an accident. I've had 5 of these recalls in the 5 or 6 years of the car. Like, it's pretty scary to own a car that can catch on fire for no reason.
You'll see the flames.
Fire, caught on camera.
It was sure enough my car that burned down.
But why wasn't this model on the recall list? The drive for answers continues on your marketplace. This is your marketplace. We're with Abby Sankar in Kitchener, Ontario.
There it is, my car. It's still here.
As he goes looking for what's left of his Hyundai Elantra.
Just unbelievable to see this car in this situation.
Burned out wreckage. That's a far cry from when he bought it new 7 years ago.
There are days when I used to work like 3 jobs and I used to just lie down in the car for hours sometimes.
This vehicle model was not part of the recalls we've been investigating when Abby drove it to work a year ago. And it never had any early warning system installed. But what happens next sure seems familiar. And it was caught on camera. Soon after parking in this very spot at the building he manages, Abby hears a fire alarm and smells smoke.
Go there. You can watch it, keep watching it, you'll see the flames. There.
He calls 911, not knowing it's his own car that's burning.
Ran into the site office and I wanted to find out which one it is because my car was very close to, where the fire happened. So when I looked at the video, it was sure enough my car that burned down. And just the previous night, I was in the car at the hospital with my newborn. She was 4-month-old. I was waiting in this car just like hours before the car burned down. And to see it burning down, that's a shocker.
An insurance investigator blames the fire on a manufacturing defect. But Hyundai is blaming Abby and poor maintenance. He says not true and is suing them for the $29,000 he spent buying the car. And get this.
So my car burned down on the 28th of January. On February the 7th, there is some article published online saying that Hyundai is recalling a whole bunch of vehicles for the engine fire.
Yet another recall added after the damage is done.
When is enough enough?
Well, I would say enough was enough probably about 18 months ago.
Consumer advocate Georgini says the ongoing roller coaster of recalls by Hyundai and Kia have left car owners not knowing which way to turn.
Our concern is that often past history is a good indication of the future. The companies missed the bus 20 times. They issued 20 recalls for what is essentially a similar problem across a broad line of engines over 7 or 8 years. That should have never happened. Can we trust them now?
Hey there, how's it going?
Good morning.
Good, so this is the car we're talking about.
Yeah, this is it.
Back in Alberta,
Can we take a look at the engine?
Yeah, sure.
Yannick Letelier of Edmonton has never seen an engine recall for his Kia Rondo, but thinks there should be one.
It's a bit of an eyesore and a little frustrating to see it every time we come back here.
His car has been sitting here for more than a year, ever since Yannick and his young family were driving back from a Thanksgiving afternoon.
All of a sudden, we kind of heard a clunk and then started to hear just screeching metal sounds, and so quickly was able to pull off to the right and get onto the shoulder. But yeah, and the engine just stalled and died right there.
Now, what did you think at that point?
Well, it was kind of funny because the day before, my father-in-law said, yeah, I heard on the news about this problem with Kia engines and fires. And I said, yeah, I'd looked into that, and you know, our car doesn't seem to be affected. So I said, yeah, I think we should be safe. But then the next day, it happened, so right away I kind of knew. Yeah, the engine's probably toast.
We're going with Yannick today to a mechanic to see if his car is, in fact, toast. His warranty expired just before his engine did. And even though the same engine is in other vehicles that have been recalled, his car hasn't been. Marcin, the mechanic, puts the car up on the hoist and digs in.
Let's take a look.
What's really wrong with this engine?
The metal shavings is coming out of this one.
So what's the verdict? What did you find?
That's coming up on Your Marketplace. This is Your Marketplace. We're investigating the risks and the reality of engine fires and engine failures in vehicles by Hyundai and Kia.
Honestly, if the flames are coming off the back, this would look pretty neat.
The slow way in which recalls have been rolled out, and whether the fixes are failing too.
We're frustrated with, I guess, what Kia is doing or not doing for our vehicle.
Yannick Letelier is at a garage to see if there's any hope for his engine. But it's not long before Marcin, the mechanic, finds some telltale signs.
Well, there's a lot of debris, and you can see the metal shavings is coming out of this one.
And there's too much movement in the connecting rod.
The crank is definitely worn, as well as the bearings.
So what's the verdict? What did you find?
There is a lot of debris in the engine, and there is a lot of movement in the connecting rod. So definitely you do need a new engine, which it is really hard to find. So it's really going to be a hassle for you to get this fixed.
New engine.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, I think that's exactly what I was expecting.
Yannick isn't surprised, but would be if Kia finally stepped in to help.
Hopefully, you know, if Kia can respond or maybe provide some kind of hint of some options there, I think that's our only hope.
Yannick decides to head home and look into selling his car for scrap. But he's worried he'll lose out if Kia expands its recall again.
What if we sell it and then they recall it, and are we just lost our whole value of the car then if we don't own it anymore?
When we reach out to Kia, they tell us they're adding more recalls, including, finally, Yannick's. Good thing he held on to his Rondo. Hyundai tells us that they, too, are adding to their recall list, and both car makers say they're extending warranties to help with repairs.
In the 2 years we've been reporting on these fires and failures, the companies have issued at least 16 more recalls. 4 have come just in the last few weeks, after we tell the car makers and Transport Canada about our latest investigation.
Is Transport Canada really protecting people here?
A different Transport Canada with a different level of resources, might have been able to be a little more assertive with the car maker along the way.
George Eney is the head of the Automobile Protection Association. He says Transport Canada has new powers to order recalls, but needs more resources to enforce them.
APA is in favor of having more resources for the defect investigation branch, the people who look after recalls. It's a small team for the responsibility they have, the increasing complexity of vehicles. The government is sometimes cheap, so they don't necessarily hire enough engineers internally in those services, and they rely on outside teams.
Transport Canada says no to our interview request, but they tell us they are keeping an eye on those early warning sensors to see if they're working as promised. Drivers like Keisha and Michael hope they've seen the last of their recalls. They'd like to see the last of their vehicles, but worry about passing along problems if they try to sell.
Honestly, would I feel safe with someone else driving this vehicle? No. Because if something did happen and I found out something happened, I'd feel terrible.
They wouldn't recommend buying anyway.
Not based on the experience that I have had with Hyundai. No way. No way.
As for Abby Sankar,
Service Department, how can I assist you?
he got one more recall notice from Hyundai on the car that burned down a year ago.
Somebody left a message asking me to return a call about a safety recall.
So the recall is for the brake pedal stopper replacement.
Just so you know, my vehicle it burned down from an engine fire.
Oh, no. Okay. Don't worry. I'm going to take it off your file here.
That won't help Abby much.
I really counted on this vehicle, but it failed me. Or rather, I must say, Hyundai failed me.
But we plan to stay on the case of the recall roller coaster. If you've got a story to share, send us an email, marketplace@cbc.ca.
One house, 3 homeowners.
So you bought in 2015.
Testing appraisers. Face racism hits home.
I bet your our appraisal comes back really low. I think it's because we're black.
How is it even possible for this property to be worth less than the properties across the street?
A special hidden camera investigation, only on your Marketplace.